What was the result of the Fed meeting? They did a 50 basis point decrease. Initially, the market said, whoa, this is pretty good, until they figured out it wasn't so good and sold off. This is why it's always important to understand price is always moving in a wave. It's always going up and down and up and down and up and down. You get the idea. The key thing now for the markets are good earnings. That's basically it. And of course, we don't want inflation to come back either. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our incredible community. We have such an amazing global family. And of course, don't forget to fill out that form. What form is this? I'm glad you asked. It's the Profiting from CTKS Method Structure. It's the new course coming out on the 9th of October 2024, and you can get it absolutely free. But, as always, conditions apply. What are these pesky conditions? You have to be either a Masterclass student, have enrolled in CTKS Method, this is an or, Level 1 and Level 2 Standard Certification, or be a current member of the CTKS Method service. And of course, the form must be filled in completely. The URL is in the description of this video. All of that must be done before the 9th of October. These are all comments from yesterday's video. We have such an amazing global family. And thanks to Shah and Al, who are offering a partial Masterclass scholarship. The link for this partial Masterclass scholarship is in the description of this video. Many people have found the Masterclass to be life-changing. CTKS Level 1 and Level 2 will give you super confidence, and the method service will give you a license to print money. And the new course will likely blow your mind. And don't forget, you can get it absolutely free of charge. But please make sure you fill in the form. After the time runs out, that offer is closed. It's gone forever. Please don't miss out. You're going to see a lot of people talking about the dot plot. It's very important to understand this dot plot, which basically just says where the federal funds rate is likely to go. Not where it will go, but where it's likely to go over time, is just a way of communicating to the market. But unfortunately, many people think it's an actual rule. In all, by the end of the year, we expect to cut by 100 basis points. That's a full percentage. Now, if that happens, they're going to be front-loading. And I've been speaking about this recently. Front-loading of the rate decreases and then just backing off over time. We can see that is actually coming out inside the dot plot. So it's very likely that we could get one more 50 basis point decrease in the federal funds rate before the end of the year. This is something to keep in mind. It's very important because the news will tell you, oh, they don't know what they're doing, maybe 25. We knew it was 50 all along. And if we manage to avoid a recession, the decrease in the federal funds rate makes the cost of money cheaper. So that's pretty good. And guess what? In an election year, the Fed will not screw things up. It would be disastrous for them. And just some key events this week. The UK rate decision on Thursday. The Conference Board leading index. The initial jobless claims, existing home sales on Thursday. FedEx earnings on Thursday. This is an important one. The Japan rate decision on Friday. And don't forget that pesky quadruple witching is coming up. Which means, get strapped in. There's going to be a lot of volatility inside the markets. Using the CTKS method, we don't care if the markets are going down, they're going up, they're going sideways. It makes no difference to us. But what we do see, each time the Fed has actually cut rates and eased them off, it's led into a recession. Or are they responding because there is a recession already coming? This will become very clear over time, but expect a lot of turbulence in the market. You must gain the capability to buy and sell. no matter what the market conditions are. And we specialize in going long at spot. Of course, you can use leverage. That's fine if you know what you're doing. But please make sure that you know what you're doing, or you're going to wipe yourself out. And we can see here that that infamous box plot is playing out inside this diagram. I think it gives you a much better idea conceptually. And bond investors are expecting a 200 basis point decrease of the federal funds rate over the next 1.5 years. Whoa! That's probably a pretty good thing, because when we look at US federal debt as a percentage of GDP, what do we notice? Oh, ay caramba, it's going absolutely crazy. It's going up and up and up and up. Just think about it like this. A lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter, the federal debt is going up. It's okay. Now, how are they going to pay for this? They don't get enough inside the front door to pay for it. Just think about it like this. If you had expenses that were more than 100% of your income, of course you have to borrow. And the more it gets away from 100% of your income, the more that you have to borrow to pay. Now, what does that mean realistically? It means that if people are investing in US government bonds, guess what? They're going to want a bigger and bigger percentage yield. Because, why? Because it's risky. That's why paradoxically you can have a 50 basis point decrease and have an increase in the DXY, the US2 and the US10 and all the other yields. Please don't discount this federal deficit. So where is Bitcoin and, of course, the cryptos heading? You know the cryptos follow Bitcoin's directional correlation. At the moment, we're breaking out of the first level of structural resistance on a very short time frame. So that's a pretty good thing. If we get a retracement, we would expect to retrace back to around 60,639. If we manage to go up, we'll encounter resistance around the 64,521. But don't forget this overhead structural resistance and this overhead structural resistance. When we look at these structures, we actually have to get above 68, well, approximately 68,500 to actually recommence the bull run. And that is a little bit away from where we are now. And of course, Bitcoin can be very explosive both to the upside and don't forget the downside. So what you want to do is that when you buy, don't automatically assume you just bought the bottom. We always look from a three-dimensional perspective. So if we're thinking about where Bitcoin could be going, just bear in mind the upper levels and also the lower levels. We've got another one down here at 57,931, a lower one at 56,000, just above that, and another one about 54,157. Just keep those 6 particular levels in mind as you go forward. Let's have a quick look through the main markets. We saw the VIX was coming down, it did a bit of a spike and it resumed its downward course. And this put positive momentum inside Bitcoin, crypto, and of course the stock market as well. We've seen that gold did a really big spike and it retraced and it's currently going up. The DXY and yields are coming down. It's very important to look at the intercorrelations and interconnections between the charts. Here's the S&P 500 futures in the white. This blue line is Bitcoin. Do you see Bitcoin and the S&P 500 following each other? What about the NASDAQ? Do they follow each other? What about the Dow? Do they follow each other? What about the Russell? Do they follow each other? The answer is an unequivocal yes-sirree. If we continue to see upward momentum inside the major indices, we would expect that Bitcoin will continue moving up, even though all this bad news is occurring. Typically, spikes in terms of US liquidity just help all markets out, and we're starting to get a cut over here, so we could see some action like that. Always remember that no alt can escape Bitcoin's gravity. This is Bitcoin's gravitational chart right here. This is Bitcoin's price. And when we overlay that price chart with this blue line, what are we seeing? that as Bitcoin came down, Ethereum came down, Solana came down, Binance Coin came down, XRP came down, Doge came down. Of course, the whole entire crypto market came down, and ADA came down. But as Bitcoin started to say, hey, it's time to take off because the inverted VIX is pointing the way upwards, what do we see? Whoa, Ethereum. Whoa, Binance Coin. Whoa, Solana. XRP. Doge going for it. Even ADA. And a lot of people say that ADA is dead. Well, somebody better tell ADA that. ADA is not such a bad project. But I don't get tribal. I'm trading. But one thing is really interesting. Look at Binance Coin. Ooh, what a pesky thing. Gold is getting a lot of attention recently. Look at this $2,600 level of structural resistance. Basically, it came through a positive fair value gap or a positive fresh air gap, came up to the 26 and just through those levels of structure and said, ouch, I hit my head. I need to go down and just chill a while, at least until I can gain some structural support and I'll go for it again. And we've seen gold come back and it's starting to re-challenge this $2,600 area. Junk bonds gives us a really good indication of risk-on or risk-off sentiment inside the markets. And we saw a lot of risk-on until we started getting into this structural overhead resistance. And boy, oh boy, did it back down again from that overhead structural resistance. A lot of people have difficulty understanding how junk bonds works. Basically, if junk bonds are falling off the edge of the cliff, so too are the markets, and vice versa. I would also suggest that you keep your eye on the VIX. The fear gauge of the main market is pretty important to keep your eye on. We did have a cut over yesterday, but now we're getting a cut under. This is fantastic news. It means that the markets have the probability of rallying and rallying hard. Because if the VIX was to spike up, we would expect the exact opposite behavior. We would expect the markets to come down. But as the VIX comes down, the markets rally. When people first start trading and investing, they only look at the chart that they're putting money into. Their universe is incredibly small. And then they start learning that other charts will impact the chart that they're looking at. And it's not just one or two or three or four. It's a whole series of them. And then they understand that what happens as far as government reporting also impacts that little chart that they're putting money into. They also understand that it's not just that market. If they're in the stock market, also the bond market and the commodities markets will impact that particular chart. When it comes to crypto, everything impacts crypto. Crypto is a very high-skilled market to trade and invest in. Of course, a lot of people treat it as a gamble, but they're actually missing out on the point. Life-changing wealth is available and accessible to everybody, but you must know the rules. You can have an absolute skill for life by understanding how to operate inside financial markets. Even if something comes down, this is generally due to liquidity shocks. Liquidity shocks can move money around very decisively, and then often it reverses. So you must be aware when liquidity strikes. And always remember, you want to take advantage of the very volatile nature, especially of crypto. A lot of people talk about percentage returns. You want the greatest percentage return you can get. And just remember, crypto is so volatile, it can rally up, just trap everybody at the top, rally down so they sell, and then rally right back up again. So just be aware of the dimensions that crypto actually moves in. It's very, very volatile, but that volatility can be your best friend, unequivocally. One of the most stressful things that you're going to find when you look at a particular chart, where is it going to turn around and where could it come up to before either retracing or collapsing back down again or just consolidating? That is answered by the method. This is why, as a community, we're not really too fussed about where price goes, because even when we look at Solana, we know where the structural resistance and structural support levels are. We know where it's likely to hover around and if it fails to come down and gather support. You see these kinds of tests, but here is the inverted VIX. Yeah, it's from the stock market. Look at that. Just predicting exactly what would happen to Solana. A lot of people just expect things to go ping for ping. In other words, this must go up if Solana goes up like this. It doesn't work that way. What you basically want to see is the overall direction. If the overall direction is up, that's the plus that you need. And just a helpful hint, this is the inverted VIX, it's not the VIX. For example, if you were looking at ETH, this particular price action could seem really quite random, but it's not. It's not at all. You have a massive interplay between structural support levels all over the place that can turn into structural resistance levels. This is literally the blueprint of the market, so you can see with the highest degree of statistical significance where things can get caught and turn around or just get caught and range bound. But what exists above Ethereum's price right now? Well, let's have a look. That is a lot of overhead structural resistance. If you didn't have the method, you would not know it's there. Now, what happened when Ethereum came down? It caught structural support and it had to grind its way through it. You can see that this overhead structural resistance from about that 24.67 mark onwards is going to be problematic for Ethereum. Without the method, you would never ever know that. It's very important that you keep on looking at the structural levels of the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 charts. Without an understanding of the structural levels, you're in deep trouble because you simply won't know where price is going. One of the good things to remember, junk bonds and gold actually both sold off because of overhead structural resistance. We know that Ethereum is coming into a mass of overhead structure as well. You can get all of these trading view indicators from ctksmethod.org. There's one indicator per chart. You're not surprised at all when things occur because you know what the actual structure is. You know how strong it is and where it is, most importantly. Let's pop on the structural levels for Bitcoin. Bitcoin literally seals the fate of the crypto market, and we're seeing we're just getting into that positive fresh air gap. We could move up to 62,700 and even 62,900 very, very quickly. We've seen a lot of times, well, so many, I can't count them all. When you have a positive fresh air gap, price literally explodes upwards. But please be prepared for it to explode downwards as well. Now, you don't want any anxiety about price moving in a wave. What you want to do is have a strategy to deal with the anxiety that is naturally just part of putting money into a market. What you want to do is to be taking advantage of these structural support levels. You must know where they are first and foremost. And this is not recent indicative price analysis. This is a census across all price, all 5,200 plus days of Bitcoin's price history. The inverted VIX is, for the time being, showing some pretty cool price momentum. This is exactly what we want to see. When you get into a very turbulent event, don't forget, price can get very chaotic, but it then has to make a decision. And we're also seeing a fairly positive sign here. Bitcoin is in the process of overcoming its intermediate resistance from its own internal price action. So that's pretty good. And we know that there's a positive fresh air gap right there. So it's going to be really interesting what happens in the next 24 hours. And congratulations to everybody who saw the opportunities in yesterday's video. You are legends. The secret word for today is skill. Everything in life requires skill. There's no doubt about it. It's a funny thing. The more effort and commitment and dedication you put in, the luckier you seem to get. Well, that's at least to external people. That's why, as a community, we're always dedicated and committed. We understand that we either win or we've just got a loss that we need to learn from. We don't blame the loss. It just meant that we didn't have that little piece of knowledge. So there's never any reason to feel upset or blame yourself or anybody else. It's just a learning exercise, and it's important to enjoy the journey. Remember, opportunities in life reset every single day, and if you want to reset them right now, you just say, reset now. And always remember, the universe wants you to succeed. The universe is a beautiful place. It's not full of problems, it's full of beauty. It's full of people that genuinely care about each other. Sometimes we look at social media and we just can't see it, but it is there, I promise you. So every day, just be the change you want to see in the world. Show kindness, integrity, and gratitude, and you will find that life just opens up to you. Actually, with that said, we should make gratitude the key word for today to know that you got up to this part. If you can show gratitude inside your own life, you will find a richness that is unknown to the vast majority of people. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.